Hathor, along with Panorama, is pleased to give you the platform to present your talent and just spread the knowledge. As I was speaking to a queen earlier, I was saying that, a lot of the knowledge that is getting put in books is not the knowledge that we gravitate to. A lot of the knowledge is either passing on with our ancestors or getting removed from the shelves or from whatever location it is. So we got to keep our history going. And I'm not sure what each book is about in detail, but I know because they were written by you, is information for our people. And we have to keep that in mind moving forward. If they're going to remove the books, the least we could do is write books to keep it going and spread it, And as we were getting into this, when this idea came about, you don't hear about local authors like that. And I'm trying to figure out why, because when we offer the platform, they're coming by hundreds, and we can't, present everybody at one time. And we try to limit it so we can give the space for you to be able to properly present, and the acknowledgement can be there versus just a crowd of people. So this is why we limit it to just a few at a time. We plan to do more moving forward. I think the setup may be a little different moving forward, but it's not going to just get deleted altogether. So just keep that in mind. So spread the word with your friends and all, so that they'll know that we do have a platform for you to present your book. And what we're going to do is give each author the opportunity to, give us a briefing on what your book is about, so that we'll, get an idea of what we are buying. When people buy books, sometimes they just buy to buy, and then they'll get their library together, and when you retire, you start reading books. However you do it, it's just a good idea to get your information out there, because you never know how you're gonna reach and who you're gonna reach. So with that being said, we're going to start from my right, from my right, and we're going to go around, and you take as much time as you need to introduce yourself and your book.
I'm Ashley. I go by AJ Rosier, or just AJ. This is my 14-month-old baby, Zaire, like the country Zaire. 14 months, and I birthed this book before I birthed him. I had asked God, what was I supposed to do? And I always felt like, people were singers, they were dancers, they were, doing different things. And I was like, I can't sing, I can kind of dance, but like, what was I going to do? People were starting with their businesses left and right, and I was just like, what am I supposed to do? And I prayed and lamented on it for a few, and it was just one day, I think I was in the car, and somebody was like, do you want to write a book? And I was an English major, and I was like, oh, I can write. I've always written. But then I thought about, well, I'm not that great of a writer. Like, what can I do? How can I, put what I have out there onto words? And so I decided to put it almost like a journal. So speaking from, not from like this place of professionalism, but from a place of just like myself and who I am. And so I thought, okay, well, I can write it like a journal. And that's kind of how I wrote when I was younger. I journaled a lot. So I decided to write this book, but I realized, well, what was I going to write about? And I was like, well, it's nothing better than to tell my own story, almost like a biography. And I realized going through my adolescent, teenage years, I had been experiencing some things that, one, we don't make a billboard or just talk about all of the traumas and experiences that we had, and I felt very alone and ashamed. And it wasn't until college, or even after college, that I realized some of my friends went through some of the same things that I went through. And I was like, here we were, feeling lonely, guilty, and feeling shameful about some of the stuff that I went through. Meanwhile, my sister was going through it at the same time. My mother had went through it. My aunties had went through it, but my mom, you'll see her later, she grew up in the silent generation, so they did not talk about stuff that they did not like. And so learning later, I was like, man, she went through the same thing I went through, but she didn't tell me. And I felt like I don't want any other young girl to feel that way again. I don't want her to ever feel like, relationship problems or problems with girlfriends or boyfriends, all these different things. I didn't want her to feel that guilt and that shame. So I was like, okay, let me write my experiences, how messy it could be. That's the title, My Messier Lessons. I didn't care how messy it was, because I knew that it was going to help somebody. And even if she didn't have the same experiences, it was just more so me getting it out on this paper, but also letting her know that it's okay. I made it to where I am today. I thank God. I'm a mother, I'm a wife, I have my own business, and so even though at 12 and 13 years old, I just thought the world was ending when I didn't have any friends, or if this boy didn't like me. We tend to see things very black and white when we're young and not realizing, our fullest potential. And so I thought that if I wrote this down and let some girls know that, hey, this is the life that I live. I almost flunked out of college my freshman year, but I graduated with a 3.0 by the time I was done. And this is kind of how I did it. So, but at the end of each chapter is some questions just to get the girls' minds going, get the wheels turning about how they want to show up in the world. And that's my birth.
Everybody, I am Angela Patrick Wynn, and I help matriarchs write a memoir. And that is because of all the things that you just spoke of. We have to become unforgettable. We cannot let it be that someone tells our story when we can tell it ourselves. But I started out writing fiction. This book, wrote in 1999, but I just put a new cover on it, new young girl in the story, right? And this book, I had an agent, and we got a contract with HarperCollins, and this book sold, I'm gonna say about 90,000 copies. First book, not knowing anything. So when HarperCollins came back and said, where's your next book? I was like, oh, people write a next book. I'm not ready for that, right? So they move on. They don't wait for you, right? Other people are already ready. But as I was out signing books, more people asked me how to write a book. So then I started saying, oh man, I could teach people how to write a book. So it became like the Stretch Armstrong thing. Am I gonna write, or am I gonna help people write? And at this phase of my life, as you can see, I've decided to help other women write. And so the way that I help them write now is I write books for them to learn. Write your story before you're out of time. What does that mean? Get it done now. You don't know how to write about something, well, picture yourself as the character, right? Wrote that for them. And then this is the book that I currently do, like a chicken soup for the soul, right? I get wise women to tell a story about themselves in a book. So this book has 10 women plus myself, and they've all answered the same set of questions. And what I really want to share is my intro to this book, because I did not want to do it, and God was like, why not? And I was like, well, so I literally wrote that introduction, and I'll just share that. It says, welcome to Wise Women Who Write. This is our first edition. Prepare to laugh, cry, and be inspired to tell your own story. This is a divine assignment. When God first spoke to me about doing it, I thought, work with a bunch of women like myself? Who would willingly do that? His answer was, you. I grumbled and hissed, fighting back with thoughts like, we're fussy, slow, easily frustrated, lack technology skills, and we pull rank. God was like, my child, don't you think I know that? The women I'll be sending to you are all that and more. They've been idle, but now they're ready, and they will only listen to you. Can you open your heart and serve them with a cheerful spirit? Yes, I will. Yes, I can. Miraculously, these wonderful women began appearing in my life. Sometimes I missed the spiritual calling, but they always came back. They never gave up or counted me out. Soon I could feel God's nod of approval. Yes, her? She's not a writer. She doesn't have a computer. She doesn't have the means to invest. That means nothing to me. She's the one. And so here we are as we are. Matriarchs are the greatest storytellers in the world. It was how we raised our children and told our history for generations. But stories can be altered by opinion or misinterpretation. They can even disappear or cause our families to bicker. We will hear things like, She said he was not the real daddy. That ain't the way Grandma used to make it. She said to bury her in yellow and here you come with this blue. We will he said, she said out of anything that was never really said. Now matriarchs can more than say it. We can write it, we can be specific, we can put it in print, and we can read it to you now while we are here. This book will change your life and the way you think about leaving a legacy for your family. Our wisdom is shared with humor, sadness, sarcasm, our usual wit. We will keep this going until we are a recognized movement, spreading the message of becoming unforgettable. This first edition is historical just like us, so welcome to the Wise Women Who Write, and have a wonderful read. Your collaborator and publisher, me y'all, Angela Patrick Lynn. Thank you.
Well, greetings to you all. My name is Rataski Aku Abba, which is my spiritual name that was given to me. And it means I know heaven and I have prosperity, and I'm united with the great ancestor of all ancestors. This book I was truly being a vessel from the ancestors to write this book, because if you had asked me 5-10 years ago, about writing a book, I never thought that I would be writing a book. And that's why I know that it was truly the ancestors and the Creator that actually inspired me, encouraged me, that they instilled in me all the words that needed to be spoken in this particular book, because there was no way possible that I could come up with all the words that I wrote in this book. I'm truly the vessel of the ancestors to say that they wanted people to know and recognize that it is our responsibility to learn as much as we can learn about our own ancestors, your family ancestry. Learn from the spirit as far as back as we could possibly go about our own ancestry. And what does that look like for us? How do we honor our ancestors, our grandparents, our great-grandparents, our aunts, our uncles, cousins, all those who played a part into your life? What does that look like for us? And so this book, it references that. It continues to bring forth everything that exists within all of us on a daily basis. And it talks about building an altar in your home that represents your ancestry. Now, we do have altars in our home already. They come into the form of picture walls. We all have pictures of our family members that have already transitioned, whether it be on a table or on a wall, that we can always go to and say, well, that was my grandmother, that was my auntie, that was a group picture that we all took together. That is another form of an altar. And so what we want to do is we want to make sure that we recognize and understand, what does that mean for us? Do we honor them as much as we honor everybody else's ancestry? Because see, at the end of the day, when you turn on a street that has someone else's name on it, when you walk into a building of someone else's name, even the exchange of money with someone else's picture on that money, that's honoring someone else's ancestry. How often do we honor ourselves, our own ancestry? How often do we do that for our own families? And how do we learn about our own ancestry? It's not just about going to Ancestry.com or anything else, but it's only really through the spirit that we can truly learn the gifts, our abilities that has been transcended to us through our ancestry. Sometimes we don't know why we have the gifts that we have to write a book, or to draw, or to build things, or to play music, or to color. Whatever it is that we do, we inherited that through our ancestry. And so we must give honor to that on a daily basis so that we can sustain and maintain our own spiritual growth. And that is the birth of this book, Libation, Liberation, Lifestyle. Because libation is the form of how we honor our ancestry. Every time that we have an event, when we're doing a community event, we make sure that we honor our ancestors. Everybody that's there, we honor them by making sure that we speak their names, we think of them, or we just give honor to them by saying, I appreciate everything that has been bestowed upon me. And that's what Libation, Liberation, Lifestyle is all about. Because we can become more liberated spiritually, we can become more liberated by honoring our ancestors. And once we continue to honor our ancestors on a daily basis, then we tend to walk different, we tend to dress different, we tend to speak different, we tend to become different and liberated. Once we start knowing and understanding that our ancestry brought us this far, if it wasn't for them, we would not be here today. So why not honor them? Because they gave birth to us. those who were able to make it through this horrific event that they went through coming up. How often do we honor them? Because if they gave up, none of us would be here today. So how do we honor them? It is by doing a libation, having an altar in your home that represents your family. There is not one book that you can read that can tell you about your family. That is only done through the elders or through the Spirit. And so as we honor not only our ancestors and we honor God, our Creator, all of that is based upon how we present ourselves to them on a daily basis. Behaviors change, attitudes change, our love for ourselves and each other changes, only through the honoring of our ancestors and the Creator. And that's what libation, liberation, and lifestyle is all about. It's about living the experience, becoming the experience, and honoring the experiences that we live through on a daily basis. So I give thanks to y'all for being here today. My wife and I, Angela, the House of Hathor, we are definitely, we owe a debt to our ancestors for allowing us to have this space that we can bring more people in, and we can be a servant and a service leader for our families and for our communities. That's what this is all about. And that's what this book is all about. It's about making sure that we are servant and service leaders. And as we continue to grow, we want you to grow with us. So we give thanks to you all for being here this day. And we give honor to you for all the blessings that you continue to bestow upon everybody. And we give thanks to you for being here today. Thank you very much.
Hello, I'm Belinda White Thomas, and the name of my book is Grandma Said, Wisdom from My Elders. You all probably have heard as many of these adages in this book as I have. If you're older than I am, if you're older than 70 something other, you've heard more than I have. But you've probably heard some of the same ones. Grandmothers, grandparents, my father, my mother, my great-grandmother, they're all honored in this book. And I like what you said, we have to honor them. And so my sister and I was always in a conversation, and we'd always say, whatever it was, oh, Grandma said so-and-so and so, or Grandma said so-and-so and so. I said, one day I'm gonna write a book. And so finally, a few years ago, I decided to write a book. My son wrote his book first. He was not supposed to be ahead of me, and so there he is. So I jumped at the chance, and I thought, you know what, I don't have as many in here as I wanted, but I'm gonna put in what I have. So I've listened to people talk, I've listened to ministers talk, ladies in the restroom talking, wherever I was, at restaurants, and I've heard people talking, I've got a napkin, and I'm writing them down. These are the things that you've heard them say over and over again. They mean something, and we have to live by their words. So I've asked a question on the back of the cover. I asked, have you ever been in the presence of an older person who was speaking on a subject, but it sounded like you didn't know what they were talking about? Well, I have. When you're young, it's baffling. But as you grow older, their conversations make more sense. Over the years, I've listened to my grandmothers and to other persons, and I picked up on the meaning of their conversations. Grandma Said is a compilation of sayings mostly by my grandmother, who's pictured on the front of the book, Miss Marie Page Blackwell McGill, and I started writing them down. But Deborah and I were always quoting what she said. There are also some statements in here from my father, Mr. Thurman White. So I'm honoring him. I'm honoring his mother, Miss Eleanor Minerva Moore White, and I'm honoring my mother. And it's a little statement here by my great-grandmother, my maternal great-grandmother, Miss Laura Anna Willis Page, as well as other people that I've met along the way. So you may have heard some of these, and I'm just going to read just a few of them. I tried to, as I wrote them down, give you what they meant. One of the things that my grandmother always said to us as we were growing up, don't have nothing around you that don't work, including a man. So when an object broke down around our home, Grandma Marie, she set out to repair it. She taught us how to fix a broken lampshade, a broken lamp cord, an iron by cutting the cord, get that frayed wire off of there, and attaching another cord to it with black electrical tape. If it still didn't work, well, you know what you gotta do, throw it out. So we were hoping that it would work because all the time she was definitely throwing something out. And she says, if you're going out to work and you're leaving a man home in the bed, something must be wrong with you. Throw him out, he's broke. My mother used to always say, serve yourself and save time, money, and aggravation. She was a firm believer that when you want something done and you want it done right, then to have minimal stress, it's best to do it yourself. So why go through the aggravation of having to wait on someone to do it for you? So when they're done, you have to go back and undo it because it's not done to your specifications. And this one, very important for all of us. Be careful how you treat people, because you never know who's going to give you that last drink of water, and you don't want them to spit in it. So always be nice. I've been watching a lot of football players and some ministers too, I've noticed, chewing gum. And my grandmother used to say, you're chewing gum like a cow chews her cud. Gum chewing was forbidden in school, in church, in public, period. Grandma said there's an art to chewing gum. Your mouth had to be closed, you don't smack it, you don't pop it, and you only chew it at home. She was a tough bird. And this one I really like, you have to crawl before you walk. A lot of us get deep in debt because we want to be like the Joneses. Can't afford it, but you go ahead and do it anyway. So you have to work a little longer to make it affordable, or you start out small and work your way up to bigger and better things. Many, many more in this book. And I hope that you will consider purchasing it or buying it for friends. When I first published the book in 2018, I think it was, and I bought it to my church, a lot of the seniors bought it because they said it reminded them of things that their parents and their grandparents had said to them. One lady said she keeps it on her nightstand. She reads something out of the book every night just to remember where she came from and something that her parents or her grandparents said to her. So everybody has had a grandma. You've heard grandma talking. You've heard mama talking. And if you were lucky, you even had a great-grandma. I actually had a great-grandma that I remember. She died in 1963. I was in 7th grade. She lived with us after she became sick. But she had lots of things to say too. One of the things she would say, we had, I don't know, you guys probably won't know, but we had a restaurant. We've been in the restaurant business. They bought meal and flour in these tall cans. Meal was in a taller one, I guess, I don't know how many pounds it was in it, and the flour was in a little higher one. And so those were our seats in the kitchen when my great-grandmother was cooking. I sat on the tallest one and my sister sat on the smallest one, and we could not move. She said, sit there, don't move. We sat there, we didn't move until the dinner was ready, and she was ready to take care of whatever else we had to do. But just listen to your parents and to your grandparents. What they say may not make any sense right now, but as you go older, it really will. Grandma said, I'm honoring them. Couldn't put the one picture on the cover, but I'm honoring all of my elders.
Hello, my name is Bernice Johnson. So my book is about growth and believing in yourself. My journey actually started when I actually wrote a chapter in an anthology when I was at one of the deepest points in my life where I had to deal with my daughter going into depression and actually committing a suicidal attempt. But thank God that was not what God intended for her to leave here. So with that being said, my book is based on understanding that you have to believe in yourself. Regardless of your circumstances or your situations, you're not going to always be in your ideal situation, but that doesn't mean that you don't have a purpose, and you actually have a God-given purpose. So I'm going to read a little bit of the introduction of my book, and maneuvering through life can be easier for some of us than others, and that is perfectly okay. Life is designed to be fertile ground for growth, not just growth for food, but growth in each of us. I'm sure you know that fertile ground requires some fertilizer. Of course, that fertilizer doesn't always smell good, but it most definitely works. There are many times in life that you will encounter that may make you feel like you're being raked over and dragged. While it doesn't feel good, it is necessary part of the growth process. It's those situations and circumstances that you are raked we need to prepare for our harvest. Just as the rake is used to gather fallen leaves and smooth the ground for planting, removing the debris from our life is necessary in order to smooth the surface where we're going to build our foundation on. The fall is a wonderful time to see God's beauty revealed, that it's even things that are in process of dying and falling away. They once had beauty in a necessary phase of our life. It's not until they begin to fall and gather that they become something we need to deal with. If we allow them to just lie there without dealing with them, they will deprive our lawn of sunlight and the nourishment it needs to grow. There's always going to be situations and circumstances that create a less than desirable environment. Depending on the situation, life can be tough and it can knock you down, and that is to be expected. The question is, do you have the fight in you to get back up? Not knowing what life has to offer doesn't mean you stop living your best life when your road gets rocky, or even when the roads traveled become a little slippery when wet. Your knees may get scarred and your heart bruised, but use these wounds as seeds. Water them to stimulate your growth. You can choose to let those wounds defy you or spark a fire within you. Life is what you make of it. You owe yourself to be the best version of you. I believe the harvest in the best version of you starts with your growth. So my grandmother will always tell me in my situations to keep on keeping on, which is what the title of this book, Keep On Keeping On. Your growth will bear fruit to feed others. There's going to be people that you're going to come across in your path, and it's going to be good people and there's going to be some bad people. But then there's going to be some people that's going to push you into purpose, into your God-given purpose.
For one, when I think about, as we went around this panel here, each of you, I can get little nuggets of myself and each one of the presenters today, and it's so powerful. When I first got here and I was getting everything all set up, of course, when I was met, as to say, "Are you Jerry Lane?" I said, "Yes, I am." Later on, they point this picture out. They said to me, "It doesn't look like you." So I asked them, I said, "Where's the bathroom?" They said, "Over there." I said, "I had to go and get this guy, find this guy here." But not. But as you can see, I can be just as, and then I can dress to be almost anything I want to be. And that's what happened when we make these, our books come alive. We really identify who we really are from here, because that's where it comes from. It comes from here. It doesn't matter if it's a fiction book or a non-fiction book, but it comes from here. And then it gives birth, that kind of thing. Now, the truth is I have written a total of 18 books. And the first 10 of the books are therapeutic books. And of course, if any of you have gone to my website, you know that I spent 21 years and 21 days in the Army, retired military. And the first 10 books really are about myself and things that I went through and so forth. So that's basically what they are, first 10 books. You know, even up to the last one, you know, My Little Town, which was just purchased just a few minutes ago, said, hey, I got to have that. Please let me, interrupt here. So it's all those books are therapeutic books. And then in 2002, I decided that I would trust the creator for novels. And of course, I've written a total of, as we know, 8 novels. And I can say that 6 out of the 8 novels are being considered for movie deals. And so I am so thankful for that. Well, earlier this year, actually, this one of the books that I'm going to talk about, I decided to bring just only 2, actually 3 in a sense. But I'm going to, the one that I had initially stated I was going to present was Nubian's Gold Lawns. Now that is a very powerful book. Unfortunately, the live book, soft cover book is not available on Amazon. So again, it has forced me to go through a different route. But anyway, I do not have any copies of it. But when you think, Brother Jimmy, in the sense that our ancestors, we're connecting, how we're connected. Just give you a little piece of it. I'm glad y'all decided to let me be last. Anybody got to come home anytime soon? I'm that preacher that you talked about. Oh. Anyway, but this particular book, Nubian Gold Lawn, as you can see, I'm fortunate to have with me my beautiful daughter, Crystal, only child in the world. She's here with me, and she has 2 of her 4 children. And it just so happened the oldest 2 happen to be boys, ranging from 6'3", 270 pounds, to 6'3", 175 pounds, the boys. And of course, one played football with Georgia State University. And of course, the other one, he can be anything he wants to do. Got any administrators in here? Teachers, administrators? You probably remember about, when was that? About 4 years ago, when you all went to Myrtle Beach, there was a little guy that introduced Sean Covey. Yes, but anyway, the little guy that Sean Covey is the most successful, 7 successful secrets of highly, that's right, no, teens. His dad written people, his son written teens, but he introduced him, and he wooed the crowd. And that summer, he stole my summer because I had to go from one district to the other in order to let him be the guest speaker at their summer programs and things of that nature. So that's what it is. But he can be almost anything with it. And my granddaughter, this is my first granddaughter, Raylene. As the boys will always say to me, she just wants to be the boss. And I said, well, guess what? She is the boss because she got you all thinking that she wants to be the boss. And but again, very smart. Believe it or not, she would tell you, you say, hey, let's go play basketball. Well, I don't want to play. But then you get out and start playing. She's the one that that's really playing, that's really balling. But she's that type of person. And of course, my youngest, just a little over 2 months old, Lennox. But I got to tell you this piece right here. Yesterday was the first day that I kept Lennox. Oh, well, except for my granddaughter with me. But I must say, she worked me over. Instead of me getting her to adjust to me, she worked me over. She got me to adjust to her. So now we got a problem. Because now I got to, next time I got to reverse that. All right, but anyway, so when you think about these first 10 books that I told you about, they are all in it. And of course, there's some other things I can tell you about my family. But let me get to what I'm really here today to talk about. And this is this book right here. The title of this one is Destiny's Walk. What makes this book so powerful is this. I don't care what you believe in or what you do not believe in. The fact of the matter is this right here. Just as sure that we are here, we all got to walk with who? We all got to walk with it. Doesn't matter what we've got. There's no way you can get around it. You can say, well, I don't believe. Well, guess what? It's still not going to stop Destiny walking with you. And you got to be, and we are held accountable for it. I had fans that asked me and said, hey, why don't you write something religion? I said, I don't do religion. And some of them say, hey, you've been passing all this time, you mean to tell me you don't do religion? I said, well, religion is a business. I said, but spiritual is a way of life. Think about it, brother. One of the ways that you make people disown who they really are is to make them believe in words that will make them fearful of expressing themselves. If I just share this word right here, and I guess everybody look at me strange, and I say, I said, don't you know you're connected to voodoo? And you'll say, what? Because that's the word that was given to us so that we'll be afraid to express ourselves. Voodoo. Because by associating it with being something that's taboo, then of course, you don't want to express what's really on the inside of yourself. But really what's on the inside is that you have a spiritual connection. And that's what this right here is all about. How to be able to have your spiritual journey to be able to come alive and be and give you the purpose that was intended from the very beginning. And it starts out by nothing complicated. It's just as simple as all get up. Because all of a sudden, I look at you and I see that beautiful smile, and guess what happened? I get excited on the inside, right? That's what happened with spirit. We are connected. It let us know how we are connected. And that's what it's all about. We are connected with one another. And we express that. Then all of a sudden it makes me happy. Then I leave and all of a sudden I might have bad intentions at first, but then all of a sudden it makes me change my mind. All of a sudden I begin to do something good with other folks. That's what that spiritual connection is all about. And that's where it starts from the inside. I didn't have to tell her to smile. She decided she wanted to smile. But I received it. Then guess what? Same thing, kids. Simple, just that way. We're connected this way. But not only this here, all the way to the end, you'll be able to find out that there are simpler things that are in our lives, in our place, that will be able to help us to really continue to on our walk, on our destiny walk every day. It's there for us. Now, after writing this book, I'm just going to give you this piece right here. It's a little synopsis on the back. One's walk with destinies is everyone's journey to take. Destiny's Walk offers plenty of enduring stories and advice, presented and engaging, and most of them interesting to readers from beginning to end, thus ensuring a broad range. And that's basically what it is. Now, I was able to look at a workbook. Now, here's the thing about it. This workbook, again, it doesn't tell you what to believe or how to believe in anything else. But what it does, though, is that it helps you to be able to identify yourself spiritually. And after you identify yourself spiritually, then what it does is that it allows you to be able to write about different things, because it asks this question. It helps you to be able to, what you ended up being transparent in such a way that you design your own walk. And now what it does, it helps you to be able to spell it out so that every day you get up, you'll be able to see, hey, you know what, I need to do this here. We do it anyway. Almost all of us has a plan, it's a purpose and a plan, the way that we start our day. We pretty much do it the same way almost every morning, almost every day. And this is what you create yourself. You created yourself. Well, how and what? Because you allow your spirit to be able to speak to you. And now, every day what you do, you walk it out every day.